Hey, so last night I got to sit down virtually and talk with Steve Conlin from Five Wives Vodka. We talked about sanitizer, we talked about production and packaging and kind of the roles of that plays. So if you want to support Five Wives and Ogden's own distillery, you can go to fivewivesvodka.com. Or if you're not in the state of Utah, you can go to gacraftspirits.com and they will ship it to you. Let's get to the interview. I am here with Steve Conlin. Steve is the CEO of Ogden's own distillery, and we've got some kind of cool things to cover. This is actually, Steve, just so you know, this is my first video interview for the podcast, so it's kind of
Oh,
a
interesting.
first for both of us. For
Yeah,
most people, it's their first packaging podcast because let's be honest, there is a single packaging podcast.
I was going to say you found a niche.
Yeah, it's been fun. So we're gonna try this video format and
Okay.
see how it goes. A lot of time we'll do them live, face to face, but as we all know, and what we're gonna discuss a little bit of is just everything happening with COVID-19 and how we're all kind of pivoting. So maybe just why don't you take a few seconds or minutes or however long and just kind of provide a better introduction than your first name, your last name, and your title, which is
Sure.
a small description of who we are.
Right. So I'm one of the founding members of Ogden's own distillery. We started in 2009 up in Ogden, Utah. Started on a shoestring and a prayer. And, we've been in business for 11 years now. And just recently, in the last 12 months, we've converted over to a corporation, did a big fundraise last year. Started expanding our market footprint, building a new building up in Ogden of about 32,000 square feet that we're moving into this week, actually, in the midst of all this craziness. And we make, Five Wives vodka, which most people have heard of, and most drinkers have heard of in the Utah area for sure. Porter's whiskeys, Madame Patarini gin, and Underground Herbal Spirit, which was our flagship product when we started out back in the day, before Fireball was the all the craze. Jägermeister was all the craze, and we launched with a product to compete with Jägermeister, and then about 3 years later, Fireball came along and changed the whole scope of the marketplace, and
Right.
so, but yeah, we're still making that. It's a great product, and so we make distilled spirits and sell them to the masses.
Yeah. And so where do you guys distribute currently?
It just depends on the product, but kind of in a summary would be Southern California, Las Vegas, uh, Washington, a little bit, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Michigan,
Oh,
o-
wow.
Oklahoma. Um, those are the major places, but 90% of our product is sold in the state of Utah.
In the city of
Uh,
Utah. Okay.
yeah, California is starting to pick up for us. California allows delivery, which has been a godsend
Oh, yeah.
product in Southern California. So we have a couple delivery companies down there, and they've been really, really pushing our product, and so it's going pretty well.
Yeah, I bet. I had a friend of mine who was putting out on Facebook, why can't we help keep, bartenders employed and bars open by allowing for alcohol delivery? I know here in the state of Utah, whenever I've gone to a liquor store, it's just been, I mean, the line is around the corner. And I moved here from Colorado, and when people had asked me, they'd say, "Oh, so Colorado and Utah, they're pretty similar." And I was like, "Well, in Colorado, you could go get gas and then like for your car and then go into the store and buy marijuana if you wanted to. It was called the
Right.
gas and grass.
Really?
And then I moved to Utah where it's a 15-minute drive to get a bottle of wine.
Right.
So socially there's a lot of differences, obviously.
Yeah. And it's actually that difference that allowed us as a small company to get into the booze business. When I tell people we started this company on a shoestring, I mean, it was less than a lot of people's houses in this area. And the fact that the state was our one customer was
Yeah.
actually a real benefit. We were able to deliver to the state, and they paid on time. And whereas if you were in a state like Colorado, you'd have to go out and beat up every mom and pop to bring
Right.
the product in, you know. And so there have been benefits for us to launch that way, but in the terms of growing and getting nationwide presence and everything, it's it's a whole different strategy in other states.
I bet. That's
Yeah.
such a great point. I didn't even think about that of supplying. And I was telling my friends back in Colorado, so I've been here now for 2 years, that there is a really cool, microbrew scene and craft distillery scene here in Utah. I think that Utah's really smashed a lot of the perceptions of the state, and
Yeah.
that's been really really neat to see.
Yeah, I mean, I've always joked. I'm from Austin, Texas originally. And I always tell people that if you get to Utah and you find the undercurrent of society, you're going to have a lot of fun. Yeah, because it really goes hard, if you know what I mean. It's like there's almost this rebel mentality, and that the pendulum swings really hard once you get into that subculture.
Right.
And on the brewery and distillery side of things, when we started, High West was the only distillery in the state. So we came along about a year and a half after them. And, they had started with millions and we started with, very little. And their model was completely different. They wanted to be a boutique kind of Park City, ski in, ski out kind of place. And we were just like a get it in the bottle type thing and get it to the masses. And, since then, I think there's 13 or 14 distilleries now here, and there's over 40 craft breweries. I mean, I can't even name 2/3 of them. I mean, there's a lot of quality beer going on here.
Yep. And speaking of quality, so I am enjoying a glass of the Porter's Peach. So
sweet. It's a good little sipper, isn't it?
What's that?
It's a good sipping cocktail.
It is. Yeah, it's great.
I take the Porter's Apple and just pour it over ice and just sip on it too. So
yep, that's all I've got. That's what I got going on.
Yeah.
So I had reached out to you.
I'm drinking Fanta.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. I know that you guys have been, and this is kind of part of the thing that I find sort of interesting right now is our whole society has shifted. I mean, everything changed as far as I know. I mean, I'm 39 years old. So I was 21 when 9/11 happened. I was in my late 20s when the financial crisis hit. So I've been through a little bit,
Right.
wars and stuff like that. I don't remember this. This is crazy. I mean, you hear the word unprecedented a lot, but I'm finding that there are industries and companies like yours who probably have a couple of different things going on. One is, I don't know about your own, and feel free to disclose however much you want, but you see alcohol sales are going up, at least across the United States, as people are coping and they're at home more, and some of it's just casual, and for other people it's really destructive, and we don't have to get into that. But so you have that, and then you guys decide to do something entirely different, and I'm excited to talk about that too. So.
So we always understand that we're in a business where there are people who shouldn't be customers. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
And we're fine with that. Make your smart choices and be responsible, and don't drink and drive. Those are my those are the creeds we live by.
Well, same can be said about food, by the way. It's not like
right.
I mean, it's the same thing for almost every industry.
Yeah. And so I think you want me to jump into kind of what's happened to us right now. Is that?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, because as we were talking, before the interview, you were just saying how it's just been so crazy. Yeah. And I would think it would be crazy even if you weren't moving, even if you weren't, if you were making, whiskeys and vodkas, and did you have bourbons as well? I don't.
Just the whiskeys. Yeah.
Okay. Whiskeys and vodkas. If that was quote it, I would imagine it would still be a lot. And you decided to move buildings. And then also, this venture into hand sanitizer, which I have seen a lot of traction on social media about,
Right.
and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
like,
So what, I mean, I'll go back to what you just said about alcohol being kind of on the rise in general. We only get monthly numbers from the state of Utah, so it's real hard for us to tell
yeah,
until we get the months in numbers. But I can say this: in March, our sales were up 50%,
yeah,
that's a good month. And just from anecdotally what I can see, it looks like things are going pretty well this month in the liquor store.
hmm
And so we are busy on the liquor side, right? And then basically March 18th, there was a 5.7 magnitude earthquake in Salt Lake.
yep,
And that day will forever mark just a complete shake of my whole entire life and existence. One, because I woke up to that, and I live on the 21st floor of American Towers, and I swayed for like 2 minutes and
right,
freaked out. But that day, the federal government lifted the permit requirement for distilleries to create hand sanitizer. Okay, so we weren't legally allowed to until that day.
hmm
And we got a notification that afternoon. It said, if you guys want to make hand sanitizer through June 30th, you're now allowed to. And I went down to Tim Smith, our production person, and I said, hey, man, we can make hand sanitizer now. We should do that. He's like, you really want to do that? And I said, well, I think we should. We were just kind of
right,
like, people have been asking us, so why don't we do it? And the next morning came in and had a little meeting about it and said, let's find some packaging, let's throw some labels on, and let's see if we can have it out the door by Friday at noon when we opened our store. And so, but we had two great things going for us at that point. One was stupidity, right? We didn't know anything.
right.
Two,
Ignorant bliss sometimes.
yeah. There's three great things. Two was we have packaging connections already because we've been bottling, for 10 years. So we have, a great relationship with Industrial Container here in Salt Lake, and
Yeah,
had some other contacts. And then three, we had a print shop right across our parking lot.
okay,
And so I went over to the print shop and I just said, hey, we're going to make a few hundred gallons of hand sanitizer. Can you, we just got off the phone with Industrial Container. They're going to give us like 400 bottles of 8-ounce bottles. And we've got some gallons coming, and we're going to blend some up and sell them. And so we did that. And when we announced it, we had a line down the block
right.
by 1:00 on Friday afternoon, like 200 people.
Oh my gosh.
And we were like, oh my God, what have we done? And, it was something that happened, and this is an interesting packaging thing. And I think I told you this when I first met you, is that, or I didn't tell you this whole story, but we didn't know what we were doing. And I told my assistant, I said, jump online and buy us like 100 1-gallon bottles, right? And she jumps online and she buys them. And I said, did they have pumps? And she's like, I'll check. And so she calls them, and they said, we've got 300 pumps. And she calls me back, or she comes back in my office. She goes, how many do you want me to get? And I said, well, let's get them all. And she comes back and she calls them again, and they were down to 24 pumps in like 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
And my brain went, oh my God, there's a rush on packaging.
Oh yeah.
And this was like on the Thursday afternoon before, we went live on Friday. And so what we did either Thursday afternoon or Friday is we got our hands on as much packaging as we could afford. I mean, we could just, from the line we had out the door, from the feel of that rush of just contacting, this random online company, and then talking to our contacts, we literally bought $60,000-$70,000 worth of packaging.
Yeah.
knowing that worst case scenario, we bottle up a bunch of hand sanitizer and sell it at cost, right?
Right.
Just to get rid of it. But that hasn't been the case, obviously, because
No, obviously not.
We made, I think, 540 gallons that first day with hydrogen peroxide all stripped from the shelves of every Walmart in the area. And since then, as of today, I think we've made 11,000 gallons and packaged it all. So yeah, it's become a major effort in the last 5 weeks for us.
Well, I bought some hand sanitizer when I came up there, and yeah, it's crazy to me to think like I got both of them.
Nice.
This little spray is great.
It is, isn't it?
It's pretty nice to just have something to spray on real quickly, and
yeah, 3 little squirts in your hands are good, and it lasts forever. Like
yeah.
people are coming in and buying 5 gallons from us. I'm like, what do you can fill a bathtub with that, you know?
Yeah.
That's about all you're gonna do. But
I mean, people kind of freak out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and there are some people who are buying it for, disinfecting nursing homes and things like that, where, it's and so, yeah, we really got a lesson in packaging, and right now we're still chasing packaging, right? It's like we know what we can produce over the next 2 months, and we're literally doing the math. Like, okay, we've got X number of 2.5 gallon packages, X number of 8 ounces, X number of 16 ounces. How many, blends can we mix that up with, knowing that we can't get anything else that we've already bought? Now we're having to chase down these other types of packaging. And so, we're going to have some 4-ounce spray bottles, some 8-ounce spray bottles. I have no idea what they're going to look like, but we've committed to buying them when they get here the first week of May.
Yeah.
That's just what's out there.
I know. And so was it any kind of a learning curve then for just production? Because you're going from filling, is it exclusively glass?
Yeah. So,
what do we got here?
That's a great question.
Just PET, I can't tell. HDPE.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know PET from my.
It's plastic. We'll just go with that.
Right. So here's what's kind of crazy. That's a great question. I hadn't really thought about it. But when we started small, we hand bottled everything.
Sure.
Right now, everything's automated. It takes 3 guys to move thousands of bottles through our conveyor belt system and automated capping and automated labeling and everything. But for the first 3 years, we did all that by hand.
Wow.
And so it was just a return to our origin, and it still is. I mean, we haven't automated any of this. We have like 7 people there every day now.
Okay.
Just hand filling. We have automated fillers, so 4-head fillers where you put 4 bottles in, push the button, fills up.
Okay.
Then they come on. Another guy grabs the bottle, puts the cap on. Another guy grabs it, puts the label on. Another guy grabs it and puts it in the box. Yeah. It's total manual, but we've got a great crew. They're a lot of fun. They're having a good time. They're jamming to country music all day today. Other days it's something else, and so that's one side of it. The other side is we've done mini bottles for other markets like Michigan and Idaho and stuff, and those all have to be done by hand. And so our crew is kind of still used to doing some hand bottling.
Got it.
It wasn't that hard of a transition, other than, I put out a Facebook call and hired about 6 more people, just because it's such a manual operation.
Right.
And now we're coping with 5-gallon jugs that require giant wrenches to tighten the lids on securely. But it's a very rudimentary process. There's no glamour to it. We're slapping everything on hand and by hand and getting through it. So
that's cool. And it all makes sense, and it was probably super helpful to have had that background. So as you were talking about kind of your bootstrap, call it like inauspicious beginnings, where it was kind of all hands on deck. I'm sure you were back there filling, and everyone's just kind of doing whatever it was, and everyone's kind of there's a quote from, I don't know if you like to play Hamilton
at all, but
There's a great line where he says, "I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry," and that's
Yeah,
kind of how you guys were. Just those are your origins, and so that makes a ton of sense that you were just able to go, "Hey, this is who we are.
right.
We can do this. We got the letter." So what was the time? So from the time you got the letter till you first sold to somebody at your door was how many days? 4?
No, we got the letter at 4 on Wednesday. We sold at noon on Friday.
Oh my gosh.
And then we were surprised by the FDA showing up at 5 o'clock, 4:30 on Friday, going, we need to test your stuff. We're
Yeah.
like, okay, here you go. We're just doing what the feds told us we could do. And they're like,
I
well,
like
yeah,
I liked on the bottle it says World Health recommended hand rub formulation.
yeah,
Because I'll be honest, when I went up there, I'd heard about it, and I was like, you know what, I could use a drive. I live down in Salt Lake City,
yeah,
and so we cruised up to Ogden, and I wanted to support Carson over at Utah.
right.
'Cause, I've kind of I've known him now since they went to go start, and I went by your place, and I was like, okay, but is this hand sanitizer or is it like a novelty? And literally putting that on there, I was like, okay, come here, kids.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and so that's one great thing that, and this is interesting, and this is just, again, I was stupid enough to do it or dumb enough to try or whatever. We got that letter and it was very clear. It said you're now authorized to do this. You have to follow this recipe that is on here,
mhm.
and you have to put certain things on your label. Okay.
Yeah,
And so that's the very narrow lane we're allowed to operate in this. Like we can't put any smell stuff in there. We can't
sure.
change from this formula at all. And we had to put, that it's from the recommended formulation and so on and so forth. It didn't say anything about registering with the FDA. It didn't say anything about talking to them. It didn't say anything about FDA label requirements. It didn't say anything at all. So when the FDA shows up, they're like, well, one, we're going to take samples and test it all, but two, you're not following our guidelines. And we're like, well, no one told us we had to. So what's
Right.
going on? So then it took another few days of sorting that out. But luckily, even with the FDA, their requirement was basically jump on within 5 days of starting to produce. You had to go register your company and your recipe with them. And so while the FDA's website sucks more than any website you'll ever experience,
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad of a thing to just jump through the hoops needed. So
Yeah.
if we hadn't jumped on it so fast, I mean, we might have saw the headaches associated with registering and all that stuff and went like, oh, there's a little bit of barrier to entry, but we were just enough to get it done, and our test came back of our product just perfect and everything. So yeah.
What's the phrase? Sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. You guys just went for it, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't even forgiveness. It was just ignorance.
yeah. Did they have? I was noticing this. Is there no like minimum font size? I was trying to read this and I was like, oh my gosh, I have no clue.
Um,
Anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. Because I've worked in the label and kind of secondary packaging world for a while,
yeah.
and so there's a lot of FDA regulations on certain things. And I
Well,
was assuming that they had relaxed some of that just to get it out the door.
I'm going to play dumb on that one. I don't
Okay.
know if they're minimum. But what I will say this is when I got a little baby bottle of Purell,
Yeah.
it had like the fold out label with everything, or the accordion, and it was still too small to read.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I think for something that small, I think, there's some wiggle room there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure
not
it's
sure.
not
Yeah.
the primary. It was just one of those things that I just happened to notice. So
Yeah.
let me ask you. On since this is like we have a lot of packaging people, and
Uh-huh.
I think it's a really cool and fascinating story from the automation to hand filling and all that stuff. So one thing that we've run into in kind of the packaging side of the world is like you were talking about this run on packaging specifically for this. And the people like Industrial Container and Supply are just going like, we're buying as much as we can, but there's a giant low level supply, high level of demand. And what's been really interesting to see from my perspective is how packaging is shifting to move to change some of the delivery methods. So I've spent the last 2 days trying to get people film that you can seal
Right.
to put sanitizer in. I never in 1,000 years would have ever thought that somebody would be buying a tearaway single-use hand sanitizer, but oh my gosh. And the
Yeah.
only reason it's there, aside from COVID-19, is because of packaging. It's just, we can make the sanitizer.
I was at a store this weekend. I won't name the store, but I noticed someone else's hand sanitizer, and it's basically in a wine bag.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's got the spout on it. I mean, I can't even imagine like how much comes out when you hit the, like, it's like filling a wine glass type thing, I mean, it's like, they're going to go through that fat. That's like, you just gotta, it's what I wonder about on that. And my first thought was, is the consumer going to accept that? Right? Is it,
not for the long time, I don't think. I don't think long term they will. I think now, because the demand is
because
there.
it's the only option they've got type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. I mean, we're trying our internal debate right now is we actually like being in the hand sanitizer business. We think it's actually a really cool little business, and so we're debating right now, what's our long-term strategy for packaging? Are we going to do 2-ounce PETs with the spray top so that when we're at events and stuff, we can hand them out? We don't want to be at concerts handing out glass bottles,
right,
dropped and broken and stuff. Or do you want to do boutique kind of feeling Boston round stuff at 16 ounces that are sitting on the counters in salons and that sort of thing? And it's a fascinating thing to be talking about and thinking through, and all the reasons for doing what you do. Booze has always been easy. It's like we've had a nostalgia kind of branding behind our booze. So it was like, hey, make it look like it came from an old bar. That's it's been pretty easy.
Yeah.
But we have some real consumer choices and things we want to.
So people can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 wide. Nice. So we're really having that internal dialogue now about what's the best path. And I mean, like, if you look at that bottle you held up, we went, because we're doing hand bottling, we went with one label that wraps all the way around, right?
Yeah.
If I was doing this in a hurry by hand, I would have never done that. I'd have a front and back label, and everything. So it's funny the choices you make just out of expediency to get as much product into people's hands as possible at a time when everybody, whether they need it or not. I mean, you don't need hand sanitizer. I'm not going to BS you. People can wash their hands.
Right.
Yeah? And hand sanitizer is important in the medical field.
Right.
There are protocols they have for washing their hands and when to use hand sanitizer. And that protocol cuts down infections by 25 to 50% in some cases.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like to tell the story. A friend of mine told me that when his daughter was in the newborn infant care unit, he was told that what doctors used to do is the practice was, you have to wash your hands if you think you've touched anything between touching the baby, right? So you set a baby down, you go do something, you come back, and if you haven't touched anything, you don't have to wash your hands, okay? If you think you've touched something, you have to wash your hands, the 20-second process,
right.
Scrub. So what would happen is people would either be lazy or they wouldn't realize they touched something, and the infection rates would run about 25% on newborns.
Wow.
So now the process is hand sanitizer no matter what before you touch a baby. If you think you've touched someone or something, wash your hands. So just by adding that automatic step, it's reduced infections down to near zero. So it literally saves lives in the hospital setting, right?
Yeah.
But at home, I come in my front door. I don't use hand sanitizer. I go to the sink and wash my hands,
Right.
I I don't know. It's people are funny. Yeah, that's one
Yep.
thing about humanity. We're basically lazy. So if you show us a shortcut, we're going to take it. And you know, and that's fine. That's fine. We'll sell all the hand sanitizer we can. You know,
Yeah.
we'll keep making more. So
Yeah. I'm wondering, and I'm sure you guys have this conversation much more than I do. Excuse me. I'm wondering about if like this hopeful sort of return to whatever normalcy is.
uh-huh.
I'm wondering, I think I'm afraid for companies who don't have a primary business already, like you guys already have a primary business,
Right.
and you're like, oh, hand sanitizer is really nice. Then there's companies who are like, we are going to be in the hand sanitizer business, and they neglect everything. I'm like, but this isn't, I think our whole goal is for this to not last forever. I think we'll be more cautious. I think people
Sure.
will be washing their hands more. I think hand sanitizer will still stay, but the Gojos of the world are still going to keep making it. So
Sure.
I'm just wondering, and even in the packaging world, how many people are going to all of a sudden be sitting on this huge, glut of inventory of bottles and caps and sprayers that they brought in for hand sanitizer. They just can't move anymore. So I don't.
Yeah. That's
I don't
no,
know.
that's a great we do have that conversation every day almost. And
I'm sure. Yeah.
we're trying to pace our demand with our packaging and our variety of packaging, right? And it's a struggle, and we are lucky enough to have the history and to have the financial ability right now to say we're going to buy this in large volumes. And so going back to kind of what I said earlier, I kind of know that right now I have enough packaging for, say, and I'm just kind of pulling this number out of the air,
Sure.
for 15,000 more gallons, right? I kind of know I have that on secured of various sizes.
Yeah.
So then when I get through about, let's call it 5,000 more of it, I'm going to be going like, all right, what's our need versus what we've got? Do we need to pull the trigger on more packaging now? What's coming from China? What's coming from where at what date? And can we make those two match? And it's a daily discussion about, okay,
Yeah.
hey, get on the phone, see if those 9,000 units are still available in Tennessee, or if they've dropped, which they have because everybody's buying them right now.
Right.
And so it's a daily operation for us. But I think, and I'm just guessing based on what I've pulled out of Facebook and other things, most small distilleries in the area are making a few hundred gallons at a time.
Sure.
No one ramped up like we did. And right now, once we get into our new building, for those of you who probably don't know, we operate out of a little 6,000 square foot metal building right now. And for 2 years, we've been working on this project. It's a 32,000 square foot facility with a new bar and an amphitheater for music and all this. So it's a whole different operation. But we've figured out we can do about 14,000 gallons of hand sanitizer a week moving forward once we're in this building next week.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, and sitting here, you may go like, well, that sounds lunatic. You guys are crazy. Like, why would you be scaling up like that? That's insane. Well, I got a call yesterday, 2 days ago. It's all blurring together, so forgive me.
Sure. It's fine.
2 days ago, I'm driving down to the new building at lunchtime to see where we're at, getting ready for inspections and stuff. The guy goes, hey, I've got a guy that wants to buy 1 million units a week. Okay. I said, well, what size? And he goes, well, 8 or 16 ounces. I went, okay, well, that's great, but do you realize how much that really is, right?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know where we'd get packaging. I said, where would we get, ingredients where? And so I went back to the office and I did the calculations on it. That's basically a tanker truck of 7,000 gallons. Those tankers you see going down the road is about 7,000 gallons.
Okay.
That's a 7,000 gallon tanker truck 7 days a week to meet 1 million units of 16 ounces, right?
Oh my God.
It's like yeah, I mean, sure, we all want that.
Yeah.
I'm going like that'd be something like $35 million in revenue. I wish I could do it, but
Right.
I don't think you know who we are. So while you sit there and you think, oh boy, who's going to be stuck with hand sanitizer? At the same time, there are
Yeah.
people out there looking for massive amounts right now.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah, definitely. And it's not, I mean, when I kind of ask that question, I'm thinking, well, it depends on who you listen to, right? But
yeah,
maybe over the summer there's a drop. I think if we don't have a vaccine, we'll see a return to this. I also think that people are going to be way more cognizant of the flu. It's all of a sudden, I didn't know how many people died from the flu, and now everyone's like, oh, well, the flu only kills, and I'm like, how many people does the flu kill?
right.
I mean, it was just never a thing that I thought about. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm sure it's not going away. There's a part of me that gets a little bit leery. And by the way, I was going to tell you, um, I went to the distillery and I was there with my sister and I turned to her and I was like, I thought this place would be, I thought you guys would have a bigger building
Yeah.
because of the prevalence of the brand in Utah.
Right.
I was expecting something and I was like, huh, this is interesting. And I told her, I said, I bet you this place is jam-packed, working all the time,
Oh,
probably
yeah.
overtime.
Yeah. It's we're looking forward to the new place.
I bet. I
I
bet.
mean,
You said 2,000?
we made 8,000 gallons of hand sanitizer in the last 10 days or so. It literally took every vessel we had in the building. I mean, yeah, and now we've got enough space and tanks, and we brought in new tanks. They just arrived today. Next week, we're going to be able to, like I said, we can turn about 15,000 gallons a week if we need to. I don't
Yeah.
think we'll need to. I don't know. We sold 8,000 gallons this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't disrupt your alcohol business. That's a totally separate.
It really is scalable by humans, right? I mean, as long as we can throw enough humans at it,
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
it's
right. You said you're
yeah,
doing a lot of it.
yeah,
That's
it's
right.
really not too bad. Um,
Interesting.
so yeah, we're coming through this pretty lucky compared with a lot of other businesses,
Sure.
and I feel so happy that we jumped on it, not only just from a business standpoint, but I really feel it's something that's making a difference in the world. And I mean, I could quickly run through. We've done hand sanitizer to the FAA, the State Attorney General's office, the state of Utah. We're providing to the Coronavirus Task Force, the IHC NIC unit. We just sent gallons upon gallons to the 4 hospitals in the Navajo Nation. Just donated it to them because they're really being affected hard down there.
Yeah.
Left there here today. The FBI, the meat inspectors for the USDA.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when I don't care about what your politics are, but when the president stands up and says that they've done a wonderful job organizing PPE, personal protection equipment, that's bullshit. It has not, there has been no organization, and every federal agency has been left to fend for itself.
Yeah.
It's appalling because
Yeah.
I've talked to them all. I really have. And it's insane. And so, you know, the human condition 4 weeks ago was scared. I mean, it was really scared. I had every police department from Provo to North Ogden, we've donated product to. You know, and it's because they were scared. They were at our door scared. And so it's felt good. I say it's felt good to do good. And we've had a good time doing it. And it's stressed our system. It has stressed our people.
Yeah.
We've worked our asses off, and but I think we'll all look back at it and going like, what a time, what a ride, you know,
Right.
crazy. So
Yeah, that's so good to hear. And I know, you know, just psychologically, how the human brain works, and when the fear sensors are kicked on, the ability to reason is kind of shut off. And
Right.
so what you don't want is people afraid, first responders and medical professionals and and coronavirus. You don't want them scared because the part of their brain that uses common sense and logic is kind of
Right.
turned off when fear's clicked on. And
Yeah.
so while some people might go, okay, it's just, it's just hand sanitizer or whatever, it's like that level of protection for somebody to go, I can clean my hands. I know that my hands are safe. I know that that's a good thing. That has repercussions not only in the supply chain, which means that the big people don't have to be supplying that. They can keep filling their bottles and getting them out to the big retailers so that you and your neighbors can go buy cases of them for whatever reason you think you need cases of hand sanitizer.
Right.
But it also helps the psychology and the safety of the public. We want for people on the front lines to feel safe, to feel protected, because they can then do their thing. So
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, it's been amazing to work through it, and just like, the FBI, for example, when I was on the phone with them, they're like, hey, we're still out doing our job. We're still out catching the bad guys, right?
Yeah, time didn't stop.
Right. And so, to have that level of, we know we're going to be able to touch our face after whatever we do because we've cleaned our hands, is a certain level of comfort,
Yeah.
And it's been a fascinating experience, and I don't think it's over yet based on the phone calls we're still getting,
Oh no.
And then, I start thinking to the future, and, I'll tell this story, a little personal story, but I was engaged to a woman, 10, 12 years ago. And one of the things people have their quirks, and one of hers was, she would hand sanitize or wash her hands after any time she left the house, anytime she went into a public building, anything. Basically how we're all living now, right?
Right.
And I thought, what a lunatic this woman was. Turns out I was the lunatic.
You're the crazy one. Yeah, she's been vindicated.
Yes, totally vindicated.
Oh my gosh.
So it's funny, life will come around and slap you in the head.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, we're at we've got about 45 minutes into this thing. So
oh wow, okay. Time flies when you're
time flies for sure.
Yeah.
For
everybody to death.
Oh no, that was fast. I just had to look down. I was like, oh geez, we should probably get wrapping this up. So I guess for people who listen or view it or however they partake of the content, outside of if someone's like, yeah, I've got trailers full of hand sanitizer packaging that nobody has called me about, which is not all that likely to have happened right now.
Right.
But anything that the packaging community can do for support, whether it's just maybe spreading the word about what you guys are doing, because you can ship this stuff, right? You could ship it if you need it.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thing too. We've been wholesalers, right, of liquor.
Yeah.
So we haven't had to worry about the retail side of this. So once, and going back to our space considerations, we don't have any shipping stations or anything in our current place, and from a consumer side. So, but in our new building, that's on the list of things to do, is to get better at shipping to consumers and all that sort of stuff. So basically, my advice is go to fivewisevodka.com. And that links to the website. We're going to have, right now we're doing pre-orders for pickup on there. We finally got to that point.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we'll be shipping.
Okay.
And so just support us. Drink Five Wise Vodka if you're a drinker, or that's the thing that that's our core business. That's what we know is going to be here. And we're a Utah product, and we support the community in so many different ways.
Obviously.
And when people say buy local, I like to think we're a great example of what can happen when you do that, because we give back. I'm not even sure if you're aware of this, but before the whole hand sanitizer thing hit, we had made the statement publicly that as people were getting laid off from bar and restaurant jobs, that we would donate our March and April profits back to the community, to be given out to the servers and restaurant people.
Oh man,
And so
that's
through the Salt Lake City Downtown Alliance and the Ogden Downtown Alliance, I think we've committed about $70,000 so far, and there's more to come, as we figure out what our profits actually are. But yeah, so I like to say that when you buy local, you're actually affecting your local economy more than just supporting a local company. We're really proud of the efforts we give back to in the whole Salt Lake Valley. So
yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome. So yeah, everyone go out, support. I've got the Porter's Peach here. You can get some of that. You can get the Five Wives vodka. If you're here in Utah and you don't know about Five Wives vodka and you're into vodka and spirits, I don't know where you've been, but yeah, that's and can people outside of Utah? Well, yeah, you mentioned some states you can buy it.
Yeah, go to greatamericancraftspirits.com.
Okay.
Or it's GACS.com. So Great American Craft Spirits.
Okay.
And they can ship to a majority of the states.
Awesome.
And a little secret right now, if you buy a bottle from them, there's a free bottle of hand sanitizer attached.
Oh. Is it this guy right here?
It is, yeah.
Awesome. All right.
So
cool. Well, Steve, it's been great. Time went by really quick.
Yeah.
Thanks for all that you guys are doing, and not only helping people with some great spirits, but also keeping their hands clean as well. So appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thanks.
Well, hey, I hope that was informative, educational, sort of entertaining. And really, we're all kind of in this together. I thought it was a fascinating story of a business and an industry that had to do a really quick pivot from FDA letter to product on the shelf or available in the store. So once again, if you want to support Steve and what's going on in Utah, you can obviously go to Ogden. You can buy stuff up there. You can support them through buying products, whether it's their hand sanitizer or their vodkas and their whiskeys. You can go to their website, which is right here, fivewivesvodka.com. Or if you are out of the state and you want something shipped to you, it's really tasty. During the interview, I had the peach whiskey, and it's a nice, smooth drink. So you can go to gacraftspirits.com and you can search for their vodka and whiskey. And if you order it, like Steve said, you'll get a little bottle of hand sanitizer, which is kind of fun. So thanks so much for listening and or watching. And until next time, this has been Adam Peak from the People of Packaging podcast. Thanks.